It looks like we've gone live. Hi everyone. Here we are for our Speakers Corner preview. And here's Helene coming through the door. Helene, letters from my bell. And Bill Moore. Hi, Bill. And Linda Tether. Hi, Linda. Diane. Hi, Diane. How are you? So good to see you all here for this Speakers Corner preview. I'm Jennifer Jones from Tracking Down the Family, and I have two really great storytellers here with me today. And here's Jen Sharp. Hi, Jen. They're going to preview their stories that they will be telling later in the week on Speakers Corner. So I have with me Jill Swenson from Memory Time History on Lake of the Woods, and Catherine Brote from Diary of a Historian. I have been very much looking forward to this session because I'm a big fan of researching the places of your ancestors. Researching my family in that way has become really important to me, especially over the later years. So when I first started researching my family decades ago, hello, Barbara. Yes, all went well. We did have a few technical problems at the start, but everything worked well. So when I first started researching my family over four decades ago, I was collecting names and dates and building out this tree, and I just knew I was going to be finished in no time and it would all be done, and I was worried then what I would do after that. So that's how ignorant I was back in those days and how naive I was. So back then my perception of family history changed when I discovered that a cousin in the 19th century was murdered by her husband. And I discovered that on a headstone and then saw it on the death certificate. And of course I wanted to know more. And I think this was the first time I remember that I really did want to know more. I found myself building out the story. And then, of course, we have to have the bones before we can start building out the story. So I'm not saying don't do that. Get all the facts, get all the dates, as we all do. So then I was on the path of building out the story. And then I wanted to know, most of my ancestors came to Australia, so I wanted to know what their life was like, where they came from. And being on the other side of the world, as I am, I didn't know much about these places. So that set me on the path of, researching the places. But I'm sure my guests will know probably more about all this than I do. So I might just hand over and let them tell you their thoughts on, researching the people in your family in their place. So as we always do on Speaker's Corner, we go alphabetical. So we'll go over to you, Jill.
Oh, alphabetical by first name.
First name.
Okay.
Yes, we're different here on Speakers Corner.
I'm used to being last with that. Yes. So I'll just be very brief in introducing the place where my ancestors lived that I have focused some of my research on. And that place is in northern Minnesota along the Canadian border. There's a chimney at the top if you look at a map of Minnesota. It's a strange looking, it looks like a jigsaw puzzle piece sticking out of above the 49th parallel. And that's the area I'm looking at. Most of that little area that sticks above the 49th parallel is actually water, the water in Lake of the Woods. And that community is the one that I have focused on. It's where my great grandparents eventually settled on what had been Red Lake Reservation land. So I want to know more about this house that Catherine, so I want to hear about her place. We're going to ping pong back and forth and talk about place, I think, today.
Yeah.
Kate.
Yeah.
Kate.
I guess mine is my story is a little more unique because they're not actually my ancestors. And the thing that binds us together really is place. The people I research, this is my favorite research project to do, is one of the first ones I ever did, where the people who built and first lived in my family's home in Maine. The house was built in 1896, and we vaguely knew some things about it. But during COVID, when I was trapped inside the house alone and just desperate for a project to do, I started researching them, and I thought it was going to be like you, sort of a cut and dry, like, okay, now I know who they are and when they died. This is great. But I just kept wanting to know more because their lives were so dramatic, particularly the woman who was sort of at the center of this family. So we're not related, but sometimes in researching them in our shared home, like I can look around the house and imagine them in the same spaces. We loved the same home, so it feels a little deeper and more tangible sometimes than just descent, which is really interesting.
Yeah. This connection to place doesn't have to be genetic.
No, and I think I imagine sometimes I'm going up to bed and I'm touching the same handrail, the stair rail as they are. And I'm desperate to know whose room I sleep in, like which one of you had my room, so I think I don't know, I have a hard time imagining my ancestors because they lived so long ago and I don't really have anything of theirs. But in this case, we share a space, and that just seems a lot more tangible.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's interesting, Kate, because that was one of the things I was going to ask you, whether you felt, a connection with the people. So,
Oh, certainly.
Yeah, even though they're not family.
Yeah, even more so, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. Jill, we'll say first, Jill has just written a book that was published last week, and I'm halfway through it and absolutely loving it. What I love, Jill, is the way you've entwined the stories of the two completely different families together in the story.
Yeah, that are connected by the land.
Yes.
And their relationship to land.
Yes. And it's the place that connects them, isn't it? Because other than that, they really don't have much connection at all, or wouldn't have had much connection, would they? So
no, almost two parallel universes they lived in, even though in the same place.
Yes. So you've been publishing the stories from your place on Substack for a while.
Yeah, 2.5 years. And what's on Substack isn't really what's in the book, though. The characters and the place are familiar from the book. If you read the book, you'll go, oh, I think I've read something about that. So I've sort of put some of the backstory research that didn't go into the book on Substack. And as soon as I started doing that, I had more research questions and digging, right? It never ends. So I went well beyond the two families to the entire community, the history of the land in the entire area.
And so interesting. I've just found at Roots Tech Time earlier this year that I had Minnesota family. But yours is up in that little chimney that you describe. Mine's down the bottom, but it's just so interesting. Yeah. So, Catherine, I should say to people, Catherine comes to this from a different, and tell me if I'm wrong, from a different way to the way many of us come to our family history. Catherine trained as a historian.
That's right.
Tell us about that, Catherine, how you went from being a historian to being a family historian.
Sort of just fell into it. I started doing research projects. I worked at a museum where a lot of my job was researching it was a historic site, so a lot of the job was researching the former inhabitants. And that's the part I really liked, was the sort of detective work of finding everybody. And I took a class in genealogical research to sharpen those skills and just kind of realize that this is a whole world that I find just as interesting, especially when you combine the two. Like I often find that it's so much easier for me to combine how I learned to research history and then what I've learned researching genealogy. I just think you get such a complete picture, which sounds like something we all agree on, that you have to sort of get the meat on the bones and contextualize the story if you're really going to understand everybody.
Yeah. But you've got that background in history, as being a historian to fall back to guide you through a bit more, haven't you?
Can I
Yeah,
ask
and
what site that was, Kate, that you worked on? A historic site?
yeah, it's a old plantation house right outside of Washington, D.C. called Marietta House Museum, and it was the home of a Supreme Court justice. But when I went there, they were reopening the museum after a while to also include the stories of the enslaved population. So most of my job was trying to document all the people who had been enslaved there. And so it was sort of a baptism by fire because that's
Oh,
about the hardest genealogy you can possibly do.
Yeah.
But I
yeah,
loved it. I fell
yeah,
in love with it right away.
yeah. And is that where you got hooked? Is it into the genealogy
Well,
part of things?
I think it was, but then also this story, the inhabitants of my family's house, that was really my first time I ever did anything like genealogy, but almost unknowingly. So
Yeah,
then looking back on it, I was like, I think I discounted it because they weren't my ancestors. But
yes,
then
yeah,
actually like thinking about it, I said, well, just because they're not my people doesn't mean I didn't use ancestry.com and I didn't look
yeah,
at all
yeah.
these things. So I learned how to do family history through them,
With
really.
that,
And
yeah,
then later on realized what I had been doing.
yeah, yeah,
And the house in Maine has always been lived in. It's always been a private residence.
Yeah, it was the family I researched actually built the house. So there was something on the site before, and then in 1896 they bought the land and built the house. And then my family owned it, bought it in the 80s, the 1980s.
And
yeah.
before your family bought it, were there any changes in the
Ah,
architecture or the
yeah,
building? Right?
Some, and we're still trying to figure out. There are little pieces that you can see in pictures that, like, there might have been sort of an apartment attachment in the back. That now I'm wondering if it was really a dress shop because one of the women who lived in the house was a dressmaker and worked out of the house.
ah,
But
right.
the only way you can tell that is through old pictures. There's not a ton left of that structure, and then sometimes I'll be wandering the house, like brushing while I brush my teeth, just kind of looking around. And I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, that's interesting. That trim doesn't match. I wonder why. And
yeah, yeah,
just trying to imagine all the changes over the years. So it's something that we're still trying to figure out
yeah.
physically. But no, you look at pictures of even the entire street and it looks remarkably the same from the 1890s to now.
Right, right.
So
And
have you worked with the architectural historian who knows the local history of houses and stuff?
There's it's a really small community, so there's one historical society, and they have a wealth of pictures that I've drawn on over the years. But then
Oh,
also, my dad is actually a builder, a contractor who's a history nerd as well.
yeah,
So just
right,
listening to him talk as he walks around
yeah,
is really
yeah,
really entertaining.
yeah, yeah. And I know about research from my side of the world. Is there plenty of information for you to find? Is it difficult to research a house in the USA? Like, are there deed records and
I don't know if you agree, Jill, but I think it depends on where you are. Like I found it really easy in the county where my house is because everything's been digitized
ah,
recently. So I really didn't have to go anywhere. I didn't have to
yeah,
order any
yeah,
records or anything.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know if it's different where you are, Jill.
it's totally place dependent.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Because you visit your place quite often, Jill.
Yes, just about every year. I didn't go the first year of COVID, but every summer I've gone back up north since 2014. I hadn't been back since the 70s when I returned in 2014. That was after my mom died. And I
Yeah,
went up to visit her sister and my cousins.
yeah,
And that's when I discovered all this history I had inherited that I didn't know about.
yeah, yeah. So, your cousins and your family, they're all still there?
My aunt has passed, but I do have cousins still in
Yeah,
the greater area.
yeah,
A few
yeah,
in Warroad, but around in Roseau and
yeah,
little towns nobody's ever heard of
yeah,
in the country doing
yeah,
farming and still in the area.
yeah. So just tell me, once again, from my side of the world, I know nothing about this area. Just tell me a little bit about the area. It seems quite isolated, is that right?
It is rather remote.
Yeah,
It is south of Winnipeg, but that's across the border, of
yeah,
course. So that's probably the closest metropolis. It's between Fargo and Duluth, or near airports, and It's a 6-hour drive north of the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul area.
Right.
So it is rural, definitely, and always has been rural. Though the early history, the fur trade was 1820. John Jacob Astor had a trading post there, and then commercial fishing towards the end of the 19th century. And settlers didn't really arrive until what was called reserved unceded in Red Lake Indian Territory until 1902, when it was open to homestead claims. And by then, commercial fishing had come to an end, and timber continued as a major, but it became quite a metropolis. In fact, the advertising at the turn of the century for this new town was that it would be the Riviera of the Midwest.
And is it?
And no, although it is certainly a lovely place to visit.
Yeah.
Right, but it attracted a lot of settlers, and it today, it is known for hockey and for walleye fishing. Sports fishing has replaced commercial fishing, tourist destination.
Yes.
And of course, for the one major employer in town, which is Marvin Windows, which is a family-owned business. Many people in the United States see their yellow trucks driving across the interstate. They're a high-quality window manufacturer and have been in business, 1946, I think, is when they started manufacturing windows as a way to keep veterans coming back from World War II employed during the winter season when they couldn't be out being lumberjacks.
Right.
And and it has continued to this day. It is, and they're hiring. If anybody is seeking a high quality of life with a great paying job, it's quite the location. Yeah.
And it's not really usual to see a concern like that in a sort of a more remote place, is it?
Well, don't we all wish we could live in a rural, pastoral setting?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
The wilderness there, it is a sports hunting and fishing
Yes. Yeah. I wondered about that.
area because it is so. Where else can you see moose? Where else can well, in Maine, right, Kate? Yeah. So, but there's a lot of wildlife and open green space.
Yeah.
Value to recreation, sports hunters. Most people eat venison and fish that they hunt and fish.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I know for me that would be the place I'd prefer to visit rather than the big bustling cities. We always look to go out a bit. Yeah. And so, Kate, how many? I presume how many people have lived in your house? How many families?
So between this original family and my family, there were, I think, 4 different people. Like there was quite a lot of turnover in the 20th century. People living even sometimes for like 2 or 3 years at a time. But then also too, when I was a kid, this house was a rental property. So people, both long-term and vacation rentals. So a lot of people have stayed there. And I think a lot of people's stories have, been imprinted on the space. Yeah. But between this original family and my family, this original family lived in the house over 2 generations for about 60 years. And my family is going on 40, I think, right? Yeah. So we're kind of, to me, like this is, we're the people whose house it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And someone's made a comment, and I'm sorry, I can't see the name. It's just scrolled by me, that they have Marvin Windows.
Yes. Barbara.
Barbara, probably. Yes. Yeah. I see that Marvin Windows highlights the town of how do you say that? Warroad?
Warroad. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it would be a landmark, wouldn't it? In this town, I presume. Yeah.
The other big employer is Polaris in Roseau,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
makes
right.
snowcats. We call them
Yes.
snowcats in Minnesota. What?
Oh, right.
For those of you in Australia, they're snowmobiles, these little sleds on conveyor belt things
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
run across the tundra. Yeah.
So does it snow there, does it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. See,
Oh, yeah.
that's
I
a
remember
question.
the only time my parents were crazy enough to take us up over the winter holidays,
Yeah.
and the wind chill was minus 81.
Oh,
And
goodness.
when we came out to get in the car to go home, my dad had an old blue Chevy Impala, and he turned the crank. It did turn over, and as it started to heat up, the dashboard cracked.
Oh,
The dashboard, right in the middle, right?
oh,
It gets cold up there, and yes,
Yeah.
there's snow. There
yeah,
is snow.
yeah. So,
So ice out has always been something that they look forward to every spring.
oh, right.
So when we hear ice out, it's like a normal thing, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's wanting ice out every spring. It's a
Yeah, right.
day that they call it Ice Out Day, right? When the ice
Oh,
is
okay.
really melted.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So it's very unusual to me. And that's why I ask about snow, because, you know, we have it, but we have to go a long way from home up to the mountains for it. Barbara's laughing about the Riviera. Yes. Yeah. And hello, Richard. Good to have you here. Yeah, so it's very interesting to hear about how, place helps you to find out about your family. I know it's not your family, but it is your family, Kate.
They feel like it sometimes.
Yes. Oh, how many of us have family that aren't blood family? So
Exactly.
Yeah. So the thing I wondered about, Jill, when I read your Substack, what came first? Wanting to trace your family, or wanting to know more about your place?
Oh, that's a very good question. I associated all of my best memories of my mother from my childhood when we were up in this place, which had been where she grew up and where my great-grandparents had homesteaded.
Yeah.
So did I go up there seeking even family history? No, I think I went up there to deal with my grief.
Yes.
And when I went into the World Heritage Center to kind of poke around and see what I could learn about the past, I learned from a senior volunteer at the History Center that the man who had been photographed on a postcard that I had saved for 50 years, it was still on my fridge when my sister called to say, if you want to say goodbye to Mom before she dies, you got to get on the road. So I had gone back to World. I knew, that this postcard person, right, had passed, but I didn't know what had ever happened. I had learned that his descendants had recently been dispossessed from their land. And my background is as a journalist, educator, and a writer and editor, and I can smell a story from 10 miles away. I wanted to know, how did that happen? What is going on here? And to be perfectly honest, I think it was a great distraction from my own grief.
Yeah.
And I know that in my own family history now, that a huge part of a pattern is about forgetting what happened in the past, trying to put the past behind you. My great-grandparents and great-great-great-grandparents, right, wanted to get out of Sweden for a good reason. Right, put the past behind you. It was not easy having to fell all that timber to create a log house, and then it burned down, and then start again. None of that. Put that past behind you. Forget that. You didn't want your kids to carry on the trauma, but guess what? That gets passed down anyway. The past never goes anywhere. There's a great Utah Phillips and Annie DeFranco song from the 90s, right? It's a folk tune that the past doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
You can deal with it or not.
Yeah.
Right?
It will always come back, won't it?
There, right under our feet, literally, in the ground.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
And
Diane,
that allowed me to kind of deal with my own grief and also figure out why my mother wanted to leave that place so desperately. In the same way, I wanted to leave my parents' home. when I
Yeah.
turned adult
Yeah.
age.
Yeah. And I agree. I agree with what Barbara has said there, that so often exploring family history is a path to deal with grief, and can be a path to deal with grief. So yes, and we all have to deal with it, don't we? I mean, it doesn't, as you say, Jill, it doesn't go away just putting it in the little back corner of that brain, and you never know when it's going to pop up. Yes, yeah. Another question.
To lean into it.
Yeah,
I think also you have to lean into it rather than avoid it. I think we're so afraid of death and grief.
Yes.
I mean, for me personally, I've had a lot of grief, and the hardest part of going through grief is dealing with other people's inability to grieve.
Oh, exactly. Absolutely. It's so true. Yeah, yeah. And I just think that's the way it was back then, many years ago. That's the way it was. And I suppose they were dealing with so much just to survive in some cases that you just had to move on. I mean, babies were dying, and, children were dying, and all sorts of things were happening. So, but I think we've got a more healthy sort of attitude to grief these days, yeah. Barbara did say, now I hope I get your words right, Barbara, a question for Kate. Have you documented your presence in the house, your family's presence in the house for future residents?
I mean, I hope so. So part of this project when it first started was I was gonna do it as a Christmas gift to my parents. Like I was gonna frame the original deed, and then it ended up being this like scrapbook that was this big as I kept finding more interesting stuff. So not only is there that, I've documented us as part of the story. And then I feel like there's so many now pictures, like it's so easy to take pictures. There are so many pictures of us and our life in the house. We actually have a collection. Our favorite place to be in the house is the front porch. So we have a collection of porch pictures. And whenever somebody comes over, we make them take a porch picture with us. So I feel like there's a wealth of documentation about us now. But we do have, I made that scrapbook. So the idea is that we are kind of now part of the story. Like it's all been sort of documented up to us.
Yeah. And maybe when your family moves on to the house, you need to leave one of those pictures on the wall for the new.
Yeah.
residents.
Someday that'll be a great historic artifact, right?
Well, wouldn't you love to move into a new house and find a photo of the people that used to be there before you?
I mean, I would, speaking for myself.
Me too. Me too. Some people might say, oh, I wonder what they left their photo behind.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wait, did the house have a stone foundation?
Yeah, it has a granite foundation.
Wow. Did the original family set the stone, or did you found a mason, or did they get the stone from the fields from that area?
Yeah, so where it is in Maine, it's actually an island, and the main industry at the time was granite quarrying. Like the island is literally made of granite. And there was a building on the site before, so I don't know exactly where the big slabs of granite came from, but to me there's a pretty non-zero chance that they came from this previous building. But actually I know exactly, there's a you know how old newspapers have like the social column of like all the little updates going on in a small town? I actually know the week that they began the foundation, because it says that, the house, the seller has begun construction on this house, and the cellar is lined with these granite foundation blocks. So I know to the date when they were put in, and they're these enormous granite slabs. So I have to imagine that, there's a quarry like literally right behind the house. So I can imagine maybe they borrowed equipment to
bring them heavy stone,
move them into place or something. But they had all the equipment necessary right there because of all the granite quarrying happening.
Yeah.
And has the house ever shifted off the foundation, or have there been any cracks? I mean,
not that I know of.
A long time, right? Things move.
Yeah, not that I know of. It's pretty sturdy. It's a pretty well made house.
Yeah,
it's not built on a hill.
No, it's built on top of a little hill, so we get the advantage there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Jill, I love your questions. The journalist in you is coming out. I love them. Yeah. So how great is it to know exactly when the house, was begun? And yeah. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think you can all see we're in for a treat on Thursday or Friday, wherever you are in the world. So I'd like to thank Kate, Jill and Kate, just so much for coming along and just being so open and willing to step up and, give us a preview and to come along on Friday Friday for me, to tell us their story in full. And as you can tell from we've just had tiny little snippets today compared to the full story. But, later in the week we'll get the full story, and that will be on Zoom. So I must say it's a free event. But you do need to register so you can get the Zoom link. So everybody, don't forget to register, pop along and register for the event, come along and catch up with the full story that Jill and Kate will tell us. And I'm sure they're going to keep us enthralled, because I know there's a lot more to these stories than what we've heard today.
Thank you, Jennifer, for hosting.
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, no, it's my absolute pleasure. So the only other thing I would like to say is thank you to everyone who has come along.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, everyone, and for bearing with us with a few technical difficulties in the start. And there's Mama Carol. Hi, Mama Carol. We're just at the end, but you'll be able to catch up on the recording. Yes, so we will see you all at Speaker's Corner on Thursday or Friday, depending on your time zone. And Barbara's busy in the background taking notes, so she'll put links to everything in the notes. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jill and Kate. Much appreciated. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.